Dance with me. Hey everyone, it's Danny Samuels, art director at Privateer Press. Welcome to this Gen Con exclusive live stream. It's nice to be back to see everyone. We're going to do something really cool today. It's going to be an interactive, almost like choose your own terrain, adventure, craziness live stream where you guys get to kind of art direct me. It'll be a fun change, so I'm going to give you guys lots of options throughout, and you guys are going to tell me which way you want to go. We'll go into that further, but first, we're going to do some announcements. You ready, Tony? All right, so as I just mentioned, I'm joined by Tony, our wonderful video guru here at Privateer Press.
Good morning.
My name is Danny Samuels. I am one of the art directors here at Privateer Press and a hobby and terrain specialist as well. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to show you off the new mini crate stuff that we have going right now. This is Gore 10. He's super, super awesome. And our VIP model is O Debray, or double O Debray. For those of you that
it looks like ooh Debray sometimes.
Man, I'm out of practice. For those of you that don't know, for those of you that are just coming in for Gen Con online, Mini Crate is something special that we do where it's essentially a subscription service where we send you really, really cool alternative models every month. If you do the 6-month subscription plan, you will get a VIP bonus mini, as you can see when I called it Ooh Debray. On your first order, you'll get a really cool exclusive VIP mini tacked onto it. So we'll keep going here. We have a few different versions of Mini Crate, actually. For those of you that are big Legends of the Five Rings fan, we have some super, super dope models. This is Yoritomo. It is the last week to subscribe to get Yoritomo. And our VIP subscriber exclusive bonus model is Sheikah Spear Dancer.
Yeah, and I love those hand weapons that Yoritomo is carrying, but I cannot remember what they're called. So if anybody in chat knows what those weapons are called, please type it in because I want to know.
Battle sickles.
Speaking of battle.
Yeah. So this is another mini crate that we do. It's the Savage mini crate. It is Heroes and Villains of Robert E. Howard, Conan fame. And, oh my gosh, why? Solomon Kane, right. This is a super awesome one. Conan the Savage. He's actually holding an M60. It's exactly what it looks like.
Barbarian with a machine gun.
Who doesn't want that? We also have a special microbrew Marauder. Every year at Gen Con, Privateer Press releases a super sweet beer model. It's a joint effort with the bar The Ram. This year, we are doing an alternate sculpt of the Eternus Continuum Marauder. Oh my God, that was a mouthful. Nailed it. So go ahead, and it is live online. Tony, if you want to toss up the link.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll throw the link into the chat.
It is our Gen Con exclusive, so get that while it's hot. So, Tony, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, so.
Intro your project.
I'm going to explain the project first. What we're going to do is I'm going to build a sci-fi landing pad. We're going to kind of base this on the Army of the Eternus Continuum. For those of you that don't know, we have an awesome new game called Warcaster Neo-Mechanika. It's a sci-fi, super cool version. It's a cool sci-fi game. I don't know, it's not a version of anything. It's dope and original and friggin' cool, so buy it. So I'm going to kind of give you guys options throughout the build, where I'll be like, do you want to use this shape or this shape? And we'll get into that in a second. But you guys will be able to vote on a straw poll. I'll give you guys 2 minutes, and you'll be like, option A, option B, right? And we'll pick whichever one you want. You guys can kind of direct me as we go. All right, so we're going to do this together. We do have a bunch of, a lot more time, so it's going to be a longer live stream, so just let's do it. All right. So, I have 2 different objects that we can use for this landing pad shape. We've got this super cool hard drive, as you can see here. Our wonderful IT guy has been saving a bunch of random parts for me, because when you're building sci-fi terrain, one of the hardest parts of the battle is like making that base form. What do we build this off of, right? This is a hard drive. This is an internet router. I thought that they just had some really kind of neat shapes, and it kept me from having to build this up from scratch, which can take some time. I mean, look how cool these, the coolant I don't know what this thing is. Anybody know better than me? What's this cool thing? Look how cool that is. And I thought it just had enough kind of detail and visual interest to build something out of. So Tony's going to upload a straw poll for you guys.
And here it comes right now.
So you guys can choose.
And I'm also going to start the 2-minute timer. Ready, go.
I also might be a little bit biased, but one of these options is far cooler than the other. So I'm not going to try to skew you one way.
Am I allowed to vote? Can I vote on my own?
But I'm going to try to skew you one way. I feel like the chat's just going to screw with me now and pick the other one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Me.
You can't tell them that, man. You try and stack the deck.
So how are you guys doing? Feel free to spam the chat. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. Tony normally does a really, really good job of pulling all of the really fun questions and asking them.
Yeah, and if you've got general questions about hobbying, tools, materials, processes, if you have a problem or an issue that you're kind of running into on your own projects, now is a great time to ask Danny those questions. And if he doesn't get to it right away, or it seems like we might have missed it, it's possible we missed it in chat. So feel free to just ask it again, just to make sure that we see it.
Or we just don't like you and didn't want to answer the question.
That's probably not true.
Oh, sorry.
I can't actually speak for Danny.
I'm gonna get in trouble for that one after. But yeah, no, seriously, ask as many random questions as you can. I know a lot of random bleep, so like, you know, feel free to ask whatever you guys want. Jeff Hanley is taking issue with my lack of quarantine, Fro. Dude, you should have seen it a few weeks ago. It was an absolute monster. I paid a random dude at a park like $40 to like cut my hair all sweet. I had to wear a mask and everything. And it turns out he's the barber for the Seahawks. It was random. It was super cool though. It was a good do. This is not it though. It grew back out too fast. So.
Okay. 7 seconds to vote for the landing pad shape.
Vote.
7 seconds.
Also, it's Travis Mark's birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Travis.
birthday, Travis. You can watch Travis playing Warcaster on our channel tomorrow. We will be hosting him playing a game, so that will be awesome. All right.
Well,
looks like our time is up. The clear winner by a landslide through no influence of Danny is the red hard drive.
You guys chose correctly, so we're going to get rid of this guy. And the next thing I try to decide is, like, how am I going to build out from this, right? Questions that we might ask and we'll get to later is, like, how do people get up on this, right? What is this top detail going to look like? Tony, when you get a chance, do you mind showing me what we're looking at here on the screen? Thank you, sir. So, you know, we've got a big blank space here. We need to add some visual interest. Part of the reason why I liked this, you know, this particular piece so much is because we've got this really sweet grill. And I just, you know, it's going to look really, really cool when we paint this up. But we need to figure out what goes up here. So, you know, any good landing pad has kind of a target, you know, or like a pad on the top of the main form, hence why it's called a landing pad. I'm going to call this one a danding pad. See what I did there? Because Danny, Tony?
I'm silent for a reason.
Tony? Danding pad? All right, so I've got this really cool option. And I'll probably build some styrene around it depending on what we choose. You know, we can kind of like add, a lot of the time I'll find bits and pieces and I'll, you know, cobble them together, but I use, you know, styrene and other pieces to, you know, to kind of scratch build it and homogenize the whole build. For those of you on chat that wanted me to throw the router, this is Tony's realm, and I actually don't throw things in Tony's realm because, like, his equipment costs more than I do. So, sorry. We do have a fire extinguisher behind me, though.
We do have a fire extinguisher for a reason.
All right. So we've got this option. I thought this was a really cool, like, fan piece. I don't know. It's like a fan protector that Teb found. I yanked this off of some other hard drive. It's a sweet piece of perforated aluminum. Aluminum is really great whenever you can find it too, because it bends nicely if you ever need to wrap it around a form. So I might take this and like put it around a can of some sort or something to add more detail. The option, and Tony can put these up, we've got this one, or we've got this one where I'll do a little bit of scratch building with plastic styrene, right, to kind of mesh it in. Again, you know, one option is cooler than the other, but whatever, I'll let you guys choose. So.
All right, here comes the poll for the landing pad. And there it is. And we are starting the 2-minute clock. And there we go.
Any fun questions, guys? Any super fun questions? I've got all sorts of junk with me today. Look at this cool little CO2 cartridge. One of my students at DigiPen works at Starbucks, and they like save these things from me from their work, and I take them and sometimes I'll like cast them, so I have like resin copies of them.
I was up in your work area the other day and saw exactly that piece cast
Yep.
as a CO2 cartridge. Now,
So
do
I'll
you
cast this and-
do you cast them because you might need a lot of them and the actual CO2 cartridges are rare, or do you just not? Is there a reason you don't use the actual cartridge?
A little bit of both. There are two reasons, right? So this, they are kind of hard to find. Like, luckily, I have a source. The student really, made a giant bag of them for me of this size. But also, it's solid metal. It's harder to work with, right? It weighs more. It's harder to work with. If I wanted to, let's say, add a one of my favorite sci-fi details are bendy straws, right? Because that looks like a cool, perforated tube. Not perforated. I forget the word that I'm trying to make. But if I wanted to add this inside of it, I don't like just gluing plastic to metal. It's going to just pop right off. So I would normally drill a hole and try to get that in there, especially something as thin and flimsy as a bendy straw.
But it seems like that would be way easier to cut into
So
the resin.
easier in resin. I can add stuff. Also, it's lighter. It takes glue better. So, I can scuff this up a little bit and glue anything to it.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's kind of that's the main reason. Also, yeah, it's not a lot of resin, so it's easier to just cast more of them.
Yeah. Now, without going into a deep dive, we got to about 15 seconds before this poll is up. But is casting doing castings for pieces like that or found objects reasonable for just somebody at home doing hobbying?
Yes, 100%. $30 worth of silicone will get you really far, actually. Like, here's an example of, I've kept all of these random model parts for years, and I'll make a big mold. You can see this came right off of the sheet. These are just random model parts, and this one you can totally recognize, so I'm going to cover it because copyrights, but whatever. I'll save these. This was, $25 worth of silicone. And I can cast this. I mean, I've had this mold for years now, and I can just continue to cast all these bits. And if I need like a weird fan thing, I just pull this off. So it's super, super useful, easy to make molds, especially if they're flat poured. So
our straw poll says that the chat has chosen a PC fan cover.
awesome. Good choice, everyone. I have a lot more faith in you than I thought I would.
Although that's 2 for 2 you've called now, Danny, so I might have to start muting your mic when we do the poll
Well,
so that
I don't
you can't
actually-
influence anybody.
I don't actually have a preference on the rest of them, so it's cool. I want to make sure I drop this right in the center, so I'm just going to kind of see what we got here. I think it's going to be, just eyeballing it, I feel like it's going to come at about 1 3/4 inches. This is right about where it's going to be. It's not, so I'm going to do some math. All right, so we're going to measure this. It is 7 1/4 inches. So this is, whoops. I know how to use a ruler, I swear. 8 1/4. What did I say this was? 5 1/4. All right, so that's 3 inches on either side. So that means it's 1.5 inches on either side. Nailed it. I'm going to make a little mark. Math is not my strong suit, so forgive me. That's why I do art for a living. And I'll just make a little mark here. Also, something else that's probably important to do is scuff the metal. This is a 2x4 with a piece of sandpaper stapled to it. It's super useful. It is a really nice way of making a sanding block. And I'm just going to scuff that because this aluminum is really, really shiny, and it's going to be hard to get stuff to stick to it. I also would have normally brought sandpaper, but I wouldn't use a sanding block for this. I'd just use a sheet, but I didn't want to bring too much stuff in here, so we're just going to make do. I might also even take this little snap-off blade here, and we'll score it even more with a blade. I like using a snap-off blade for this. I'm sure that sounds awesome in the mic right now.
It's not bad at all.
Really? So I like using a snap-off blade for this because, I'm going to destroy the blade very quickly, scoring metal. and you can just snap, snap the blade off. Sorry, I got excited about Travis saying his little kid's watching too and enjoying it. That's awesome. I'm really glad that he plays Riot Quest.
Head back a little bit, Danny, if you can.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to, we still have our markings, kind of. No, we don't. This is where a metallic Sharpie comes really in handy, is when you're using, when you're trying to mark out a dark material like this. All right, and then we're just going to, can I get this off of here? I don't like this thing being on here. We're going to do something probably not that safe.
Don't start a sentence like that.
We're just going to, there we go. Normally these things are just tacked on, so you can kind of pop them right off. The reason I wanted that is I want the surface to be as flat as possible so the glue doesn't have a big gap to adhere to, to like float around in. Okay. Super glue and, okay. We'll put a bunch of it on there, kind of working in the middle so that when we push this down, it will spread itself out.
It seemed like you really just stuck right in the middle of the part. You didn't go out to the edges or anything like that.
That's exactly right. And that's because I want to let the glue, I don't want glue to come out of it.
Ah, okay.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I put it to the middle and I let it squeeze down. As I just said, Tony, before you asked that question.
Tony, we had a conversation right before the show where I have a lot of things going on my screen and I'll bounce back and forth through the chat and it's a good time to check in and stuff when Danny's talking. But I've noticed that over live streams over the years that sometimes someone will say something and then I will follow up and say, so what about that thing you actually just already said? And then I get reprimanded for it.
This is Zip Kicker that I'm using. For the sake of live stream, I'm going to use it. I try not to use it that much because it's really not that good for you. But, we're going to move. We got to move kind of fast here. So this makes super glue dry instantly. So that's cool. So we've got this. I kind of want to build up to it a little bit more. I don't like how crazy this edge is. So I kind of want to maybe find a way to build around it. I've got a bunch of styrene pieces here. Maybe I'll put a big chunk coming off of this guy. Yeah, see, I think that's going to look cool. And I can sorry, I know my head's in the way. I just need to see what I'm doing for a second, and I'll show you. I don't feel like measuring because I'm lazy, so I'm just holding it up against here and then marking the line, right? And that's how I know. That's how I know where to cut. But also, stuff like this, I have this big pair of snips I cut with. I don't have those here today because I've been doing a lot of work from home during COVID. So I'm actually going to just use these hobby clippers and cut away from the line a little bit further. It's going to snap. And I'll just have a little bit of extra, okay? So I'll take this big knife, and I will trim it. I will trim it back a little bit, okay? Then I can sand this to the line with a little emery board for nails. What did I do? Did I curse? Oh, I see what Tony's doing. Talking about reprimands. Tanner does it more than anyone. Tanner likes to call Tony out. It's like a fun game of his.
He has the high score for sure.
He definitely does. I love that man. Or should I say, that tan.
How many of these parts are you putting on?
Just two.
Just two?
I'm just going to add some sort of styrene detail here. Doopy-doo-dee-doo. Cut, cut, cut. Clip, clip, clip. Nice. We're doing so good on time. Making so much progress. And a lot of the time when I am building out this type of terrain and like kit bashing, it's called, I kind of let the kit bash decide what I'm going to do. Like I might see a really cool shape and be like, oh man, I should definitely put, another detail here to accentuate, this other thing, right? It kind of like, you kind of let it like build itself. That's one of the most fun parts about it, is you kind of get to really design as you go, because you don't know where this is going to take you, right? Like I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling. You guys know what I mean, or you don't, and it's cool either way.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you're just kind of sitting down. You have we picked out some parts that you plan to use, but you're not really sure which of these parts is going to happen. And even if you had chosen the parts that you were going to absolutely use, you don't always have everything completely mapped out. So it's good to be flexible where it's going to go.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Same thing happens with paint jobs, right? You got an idea of what you're trying to do, but you adjust as you go.
So I want to add some styrene strip detail. Again, it's the same styrene I just showed you here in this big block, but this is a thin strip. You guys are telling me what I'm doing? I'm posting this. Okay, I guess I'm going to finish this and post it on the Terrain and Hobby Instagram. No, I'm kidding. I'm definitely going to finish this. I might even do I'm talking about doing some insiders about like how to paint Warcaster terrain. So this might be a really, really good one to paint up and show you guys some techniques on how to paint this stuff. I have a pretty easy weathering technique I kind of want to show you guys with salt. Maybe you guys might already know that, but maybe I'll do an insider about this one. So stay tuned. Either way, I'll post the final build on Instagram, on our privateer_press_terrain on Instagram is where you can find this. I post a decent amount of content. It's slowed down a bit because of COVID, but we're just not building quite as much terrain. So I'm just drawing about a line at an inch there, so I can pick where to put this extra detail. I just don't. I don't want it to be so flat. I don't want it to be as super boring. I'm just gonna cut a bit of this strip. I'm gonna cut it long because I'm too lazy to measure super well. So what I do is I cut it long. I glue it on. Tony, I love how much doing live stream with me gives you anxiety. I really love it. Messing with Tony, who's by far the nicest guy that we work with, is like one of my favorite hobbies. And I'm not worried too much about a little bit of glue. A little bit of glue overlapping, because especially like continuum terrain, a bit like Marcher Worlds, continuum terrain as we design it seems to be a bit more rough hewn, right? So I can always throw a little bit of rust in there to cover up any glue excess, which I'm gonna get because I'm moving so quickly.
See, I never thought about that, having all like the glue and actually end up using that residue as part of the final build. Is that what you're talking about, or just being able to cover it up?
Yeah, I mean, I can cover it up, but also another trick, I mean, I've shown this on live stream before, using, what's it called, baking soda to make your super glue dry instantly. It's like a non-toxic zip kicker. that can actually really look like rust at scale if you do that. So if I had just like poured a bunch of baking soda on this, it would have dried and had like a slight grit to it, which dropping stuff, which can look like rust if you paint it correctly. Sorry, I know my head's in the way.
No, that's all right. I've thought about that several times of doing the baking soda trick that you showed me, and and the problem is like you have that little puffer usually, and mine's in the kitchen. So every time I think about using it, I'm just kind of like, oh, that's 2 rooms away. That's way too far.
You know what's a really easy solution for that? Again, we're going to do my favorite hobby of messing with Tony. Not putting it 2 rooms away and keeping it in your hobby kit, probably.
I understand what you're saying. Moving on.
I'm really struggling getting this glued down right now. As you can see, it keeps sticking to my hands. So I'm out of practice. I haven't built terrain in a while, actually. I've been on a lot of other stuff, like Riot Quest, mostly, and some actual like sculpting. Did you guys all see the really cool arc silo we built for the Kickstarter? Or not for the Kickstarter, but for Warcaster. We're working on releasing some terrain for you guys, like actual resin cast terrain, which would be very, very cool.
Sweet.
But that preview, like the work in progress, is actually up online on the Kickstarter page for you guys to see. But that took up a lot of my time.
Yeah, somebody earlier mentioned about being able to get more terrain and things for sculpting STLs, and STLs are typically not something we make available publicly, but it is good to know that we are releasing actual terrain packs.
It's a really big thing nowadays, is buying the STLs, because so many of those printers are so cheap. Like I was just talking to Michael Archer, who was our previous terrain guy, about some fun projects he's been working on where he's been printing his own terrain and then refinishing it, adding styrene details. 3D printing, again, and not to go off on a big tangent, is just another tool, right? It's another thing to add to the arsenal. So I'm a big supporter of knowing how to sculpt digitally. And there are some pretty easy programs out there to build terrain in. Like there's Tinkercad, which is absolutely free. You can do some like architectural stuff in there. But I like to 3D print stuff and then add on to it, like traditionally, like throw some sand on the base and like, really kind of customize it. So what I'm doing here actually is I got tired of pouring glue all over the place. So I'm just making a little bit of a glue well here that then I can conveniently take my knife, pick up the piece with my knife, run this through glue. Again, sorry, I'm out of practice, everyone.
Sorry, I also apologize. It's very bright on that white, so it might be a little hard to see the glue that's on there. But
I dipped it, smear some of the excess off. We'll do the same thing again here. And then we can move on to some other stuff. Forgive my head. Gotta see if I'm gluing it on the line,
Now, of course, I'm being very obvious when I say this, but I'm looking at you doing it, and it's like you've mirrored the parallel line, so it looks like it's one piece that's going straight across, maybe supporting the pad or something. But obviously, like you play around with the placement of all these. You could do
absolutely
staggered ones where they don't line up, or do odd number of struts on one side and even on the other.
Yep.
To give it a little bit of asymmetry. So there's no right way to do this. Whatever looks cool.
Absolutely. It's actually funny you say that. Asymmetry is very, very important, and I kind of was thinking about throwing one of these guys here.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'm not sure yet. Let's see. Oh, I know what I want. This is a perfect opportunity to add one of these weird resin cast bits I have floating around. I think we're going to add this guy here. I think that will look sweet.
Can you hold that part up a little bit? I can't really
Absolutely.
see what that. I can't see what that shape is.
Again,
okay.
when I was talking about model parts, let's see. We'll get this in focus. Okay. Oop. No.
How about do it under the palette cam?
On the palette cam?
There we go.
Dope. Okay, so I was talking about making molds of like random model parts you have around. This is one I've held on to for a while. Just this cool little mechanical foot-looking thing. So I'm going to just, scuff the bottom of it. Resin, can get pretty smooth, especially if you're doing what's called a flat poured mold, where you don't have like two parts to it. You just pour resin down. It gets really shiny on the end. So you will want to kind of scuff it up. As you can see here, I'm using my knife and doing kind of a crisscross pattern, especially on something where you're gluing it to metal. Again, sorry for my head. Not sure what else I can do, but there we go. Gluing that guy down there. Hold it down. Boom. Boom. Sweet. Okay. So, we've got this form kind of going. Like where it's going so far. Now we are going to decide what to add to it next. So, what do you think, Tony? You ready for another straw poll?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, dope. So we can either add a cool kind of generator to the side here, or we can do some sort of like antenna looking thing, or we can just throw some big, large pipes on it, because who doesn't like that in a sci-fi piece of terrain? What do you guys think?
Are you able to show maybe some
Sure can.
potential parts that would be used for each of those?
Absolutely. So like, here's an example of a cool pipe I have. I've glued it to a base so that it looks like it has kind of a flange that it sits into. Some more piping floating around. Let's see. Some of you might even recognize this bit, and I'm going to show you guys how to sci-fi it up a little bit by removing the rivets cleanly. I also, make these pipe things out of copper piping and plastic, and then I'll cast it in resin so I can take it to a big saw and saw off parts of it, right, and glue these up however I want it. It's kind of like a modular kit I created, so to speak. For antennas, I've got this bit, and I can build, it onto something. I have a bunch of stuff around, and we can extend it with styrene. That's an option. Or I've got this this cool piece of PVC with all this kind of. It's hard to see with the white. You want to check the palette cam maybe? No, is that any better? No. It's got this cool kind of ribbing detail. Here's this cool cap that I cast in resin. Maybe we can put this on there, make a cool generator on the side. What do you guys think?
Okay, straw poll has been posted for this, and the 2-minute timer starts now.
Tony, it's good to be back doing this with you.
Yeah, this is fun. I always like watching you build stuff. I say this a lot, so I always feel like a broken record, but it's true every time. Like, I will get busy with life and think about hobbying and sitting down, and every once in a while I'll get to sit down and paint. But every time I sit in a live stream and I watch Jordan paint a miniature, or every time I sit in here for Hobby Hangout and watch you build something, I just want to get out of here right now and go do it. I don't want to sit and watch. I love sitting and talking about it, but I also want to get out and do it.
See, the key is when your kids are a little older, you get them into this stuff so that then they want to do it with dad all the time, and you guys can just have hobby days where you build stuff.
I'm trying to nerd them up, and I
right?
also try to talk about my kids on every live stream. So during all this time that they've been home from school, and especially during the summer, they have new craft projects every day, and like, I mean, like massive things. Like, they'll just run around the house collecting boxes, and I have a collection box of random parts that I'll just throw in there for them to use for craft stuff.
That's awesome.
And they have access to a hot glue gun.
Ooh.
So we let them use a hot glue gun. I think that makes a big difference. And
nice.
Tape is cheap, so they have a lot of. So I'll come home and they'll just have like spreads of building bug houses and stuff out of random bits from around the house or
That's awesome,
costuming
man.
themselves. It's pretty fun.
Heck yeah.
So I think they're on the path.
There you go. There you go.
At least in spirit.
Doesn't your daughter paint minis now?
Yeah, she loves painting minis.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're asking me all the time. It's kind of hard between time and also, if they're painting minis, I'm not painting minis.
Oh, true.
Is generally what ends up happening, especially with my 6-year-old.
Right. So real quick, while we're waiting on this straw poll, something else I'm doing. I think that these little screws are a perfect place to throw some lights. Landing pads always have little lights on them to show what if you're going to try to land at night?
Oh, yeah.
Where are you going to land, right? So that's another thing. Like, I'm not just building and adding stuff where it looks cool. I mean, actually, I kind of am. But I'm also trying to think, like, okay, where can I add this bit that might actually make it, really read as a landing pad? Because readability is super, super, super important when you're doing the live stream. Like, I've talked through this with our other art director a bunch, where it's like, we'll have like debates sometimes where, okay, this detail might look really, really cool, but this is really easy to make, and this detail will read super well, and everybody will be like, oh, that's a landing pad. So do we go with the super simple thing that kind of hits you over the head with, oh, that's a landing pad, or do we do the thing that's completely, beautiful and clean and scratch built, that still will read as a landing pad, but like might be a little bit more tough to tell, but still like super cool looking. I don't know. So it's always kind of a give and take. I just rambled. I don't know what I was saying. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm so out of practice on these live streams.
I'd follow up, but I was looking at the chat, so now I'm afraid to say something you
Holy
already said.
Crap. Yeah.
But what we can do is we got a little extra time on that. But the accent detail pole landslide for the generator.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. It's one of my favorite things to build, which is really wonderful because, what game do we build the most terrain for, right? War Machine and Hordes. And what is War Machine and Horde? Like, what are Warjacks powered by, right? The Cortex. And it's a steam-powered fantasy game, right? So you're constantly building all of these cool generators. So it couldn't be more perfect for me to build stuff for that, because I love making generators. We're going to have to sci-fi this up a little bit more. Also, this is one of my favorite tricks. For those of you that join in on live stream, I try to put a googly eye on almost every piece of terrain that I make for a few different reasons. So you guys can see a googly eye is just a super cheap little dome, right? So when you paint it, it's going to look like a light lens. And I've noticed that a lot of the gamers here, like the people at the company, absolutely hate when the terrain makes a sound. It like shakes when they move it. It like really, really bothers them mentally. And so I try to make as many things rattle in my terrain as possible. So googly eyes are perfect for that. Tony's just over there like shaking his head at me.
You can't see
like,
my.
like old times, right,
I'm
Tony?
wearing a mask, so you can't actually see the big grin I have on my face.
like old times. All right, so we've got this going. I'm going to set this to the side, and we're going to get going on a generator. One of the things I want to do is I kind of like how this side curves in, so I think that's going to create kind of a nice contrast for this round generator. It'll add this nice kind of complementary shape where it looks like it. I love that I just contradicted myself. I said, this will complement the curve of the generator that is a cylinder. We're going to put this away. We're going to make a generator. I think that I want to, I like to think of generators as round. So we're going to start with this as our main form. I don't like how this has a hole in it, so I want to cover it up so I can build off of it, because we definitely need to put something cool on the top.
Yeah, I love that outside texture.
What's that?
I love that
Dude,
outside texture.
How dope is this? So one of my favorite things to do, and I'm not going to go on a huge tangent, or I might tangent, is I go to the hardware store, right, and I'll just go to the plumbing section and wander around and see what I can find. If I find something, I'll look at like, all right, what is this shape? This is just a weird piece of PVC I found, and I thought it had such a cool texture that I just had to pick it up and use it. I like this piece. It's a cool piece from a model. I actually definitely took this from when I was working on Robot Chicken back in the day. We had all sorts of cool bits that we could use, and I definitely just kind of like remolded this and walked away with it. It's sweet. So I like where that goes. As you can see, like this has one, a like kind of tube jutting out of the end. So I'm gonna line that up. Oh man, it's so hard to see with the white light. This has perfect. Thank you, Tony. This has this thicker strip here. So I'm gonna try to line this tube up with it. It looks like, it makes it look like it's supposed to be there, right? So, what was I gonna say? Man, my brain. I also want to figure out something else to put on this side so that it balances out that shape. Again, since it's a piece of resin, we're going to want to scuff it. And this is exactly where I would use the sanding block, right? Because it's a flat surface. We don't want to cup the surface, so we're going to use a sanding block so that it doesn't add like a weird round over on one side that we don't want. Let's see, we'll do the same thing here on this end. I'll just put it against the table, drag it across, right? Maybe in a circle. And there we are. And now we can glue this guy right on here. Are we getting any good questions on the chat, Tony?
Oh, it's been pretty quiet.
Man, you guys are quiet today. What happened? Also, yes, somebody's commenting that I should mask up when sanding resin. You are correct. I should do that. I don't know what I was thinking. That is one of the few nice things about like COVID is I'm always wearing a mask now, except for literally right now. So it kind of forces me to always be safe. Where sometimes I get moving so quick that I'll forget to put on my mask if I'm sanding resin really quick. And this COVID kind of has forced me to be extra safe because I'm already always wearing one.
Oh no, okay.
Go ahead. No.
Well, I was gonna say I love that because you were talking about using that piece for an antenna detail, and so being able to use it on the generator.
Mm-hmm. I want to add a secondary piece. I want another little generator to connect here. Oh my God, that's the best chat name I've seen so far. Whoever Kung Brew is, I commend you for that pun. Good work. This is another piece. This, again, when we're talking about household objects that I then cast in resin, this is another one of those. Let's go to the palette cam if you don't mind. Another one of those really cool PVC pieces. See how it has all these cool ribs on it that then fade into nothing? This is a super cool piece, but one of the problems is a lot of PVC pipe, and this is where it gets difficult, a lot of PVC pipe has kind of a text on it. This you can't really see because I've started grinding it off, it's fine. But this had this big piece of text up here that I had to sand and polish off of it, so I didn't want to have to do that every time, but I knew I'd want to use this for sci-fi generators, so I cast it once I got it all clean and nice. I don't actually have, the masked Bowler is asking if I have any idea where this cool bit came from. I really don't. I'm guessing it's a toy part or a part from a plastic model kit, because that's normally what we would do on Robot, which is where I got it. Let's see. What else do we want to add to this guy? Ooh, this is great. We're going to put this guy here. We'll have a cool connector pipe. We want to connect these two, so it looks like they're meant to work together, right? I'm going to try to find the middle of this. We're just going to eyeball it. Nice thing about this bit, too, is it has a little cup on the end, so going over a round dome surface is really, really sweet.
I could see how if that had been a flat bottom, you might have to do like what? Well, let me ask you this: if it had a flat bottom, what would you do to kind of marry it up to a curved surface?
I would probably very carefully take my sanding block and what I'd do first is I would trace it. I would put this on, trace the circle, right, as to where the outer diameter is, okay? And then I would take a sanding block and I would sand right up until the second that the last line disappears. That means you have a perfectly flat surface that is the exact size as the silhouette, right, of the diameter of that
Gotcha.
pipe.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's a great tip. Yeah, especially since in my mind I was thinking like, oh, you have to sand the part that's flat to try to get it to match the curve.
Yeah, so I do it where I sand the no, you never want
Right,
to cover
yeah.
and match a curve. We have done that on weird shapes in film, where we'll use Bondo. It's a really cool trick. You actually, for those of you making bigger terrain pieces, a really cool trick is called a Bondo squish. And wear a respirator when you do this, but you put tape down. I love having a longer live stream so I can like talk about cool stuff like this. You put tape down on a surface that you want to kind of mirror, and then you smear Bondo all over, which is a car filler putty. It's very bad for you, but it's super durable and it chisels really easy. You smear Bondo on one end and you squish it down. Then right when it's leather hard, you clean it really nicely with a knife off of it, and will actually pop off of the tape, and you'll have a perfect impression that then you can glue back later if you want once you've painted it. It's a really neat trick. Let's see.
Oh, here, when you have the mental bandwidth for it, go ahead and keep doing it, but I'll ask this question. Austin Hulick, just about every generator is really an electric motor in reverse, and just about every electric motor has copper wire spools. So, Danny, how would you go about making copper wire spools?
Okay, so you're going to hate this answer. You can either literally spool up copper wire, or you can be really smart about it and go to Radio Shack or one of those. Is Radio Shack still in business? You can buy like little tiny motors for kids' electronics, and they have little metal tabs. I used to do this when I was younger. You have little metal tabs on the backside, and you can actually peel those out with a screwdriver, and you can straight up just pull a tiny version of a spooled copper generator piece out of the motor. You can take a jeweler's saw and clip off the shaft for the motor, the drive shaft, and then it's just going to look like a really, really sweet copper motor. If you have and do this with caution, right? If you have a broken computer, also, I believe the capacitors, no, not the capacitors, no, don't touch the capacitor. You'll sometimes find little transformers in old computers that are in the trash, and so I would take them off the circuit board, and you know, it's like a little donut that's spooled in copper wire.
Oh, yeah.
Getz is
Hi,
here.
Getz.
I love Getz. Hi, Getz. I hope the RPG is going well. Matt Getz is one of our writers. He's writing the new IK RPG that you guys should all keep an eye out for. Getz, we were talking about how to make spooled copper for generators, right? Since we're making a sci-fi generator right now. All right, so we're going to get back to the... Oh, wait, sorry. I'm all over the place. I got a really good question from the glitchy bit that I want to talk about, but I just realized I don't have an answer for it yet. It's, where's the weirdest place you've sourced a bit or a terrain piece from? Let me think about that. Tony, don't let me forget to answer that. It's a really good question, but I don't have an answer yet.
I'll grab that question.
Okay, so you can see there's a gap. There's a gap right here. I need to find a way to fill that. So I am going to measure. Also, and I know I'm a lot of bit all over the place. Tony, you were asking earlier about how to add a flat piece to a rounded dome. And
right,
there is one other method that, there are a million ways to build things, and some ways work for people better, right? I like to sand things down, but you can also just put a pin in it and pin it to the surface and then take like epoxy.
Oh, like as a filler?
And fill it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a little bit more work than what you said before, although maybe it's the better solution in certain instances.
Yeah, it's going to be more durable.
Or maybe a
Well,
materials thing. If sanding something, whatever you're trying to do is hard.
Right.
Like if it's metal or something and doesn't sand easily.
Yep. And then metal, you're going to have the problem of drilling into it to pin it too. That's the issue. That's why a lot of the time, again, like I said, that's why sometimes if I have a metal piece like that, come on, my brain.
The CO2 cartridge?
Darn you, ADD. Yes, the CO2 cartridge. Thank you, Tony. I'll cast it in resin.
Well, that's kind of as we discussed with the cartridge, is that in terms of casting things, my brain first goes to, you want to cast something because you want a lot of it, right? Like I've got this one part, but I want to be able to use it, or the custom, sci-fi piece sheet that you make where it's just, I just want to be able to have these parts forever. And it never occurred to me that casting parts allows you to change the material of the part.
Yep. And there are also like more durable resins, right? Like there's one that Ramp put out that can function almost like a carbon fiber. So it's like sometimes in film we would cast an object, and then for the sole purpose of then recasting it in something a little bit more durable and flexible at the same time. Let's see. Beep, beep, boo, dee, doo. All right, so that fits nicely. I put a piece of styrene tube there to like seam the gap. And so we are going to glue that up. We're going to toss a little bit of glue here. And a little bit of glue right here. And we're going to glue this right to the middle. The nice thing about this is I actually have a marking for where the middle would be because of the one of the ribbing lines going down it. Right? They're all concentric on the circle. They're evenly spaced. So you pick it'll give you a marking for what the middle would be. I'm trying to make sure I don't glue this to the table. So I'm just going to kick this off a little bit. Oopsies. And we're close to gluing this to the table. Come on. There we go. Going from the underside. Lock that together. All right, so we've got this generator kind of going. You guys can see it's kind of a neat shape so far. I think it needs some more love. I'm like moving around little parts to see where I can place things. Still trying to think about what the weirdest place I've gotten terrain pieces from.
I mean, one place my mind might go is, is there a time in which you were, like it was an emergency deadline pressed for time and you just had to grab something, and then that might, put you in a situation where you had to grab something, from weird or get creative about where it's coming from.
Absolutely. This is a good one because you actually have a piece of it here. Darn it. That mesh right there, that square mesh, you can't grab that, can you? This is a really good one. I was doing thank you, Tony.
Was it this actual material?
It was.
Cool.
Is that aluminum or is that plastic?
This is plastic.
Yeah, it was exactly that.
Okay.
So if you want to.
Yeah, so this, I'll let Danny show it, but this is a grate off the front of one of my fluorescent lights. It just helps control the light. And so it's just like a plastic, it's called egg crate, but just plastic squares in a big long 4-foot strip the size of the light.
And this mesh, you can actually there is a white plastic version that comes in at the hardware store, and I think it's for like non-slip surfaces or something if you're doing a bunch of like flooring and it's wet outside or something, you toss that down so the water kind of sinks into it and your feet don't slip. And it looks exactly the same. But I was working on a job with Mattel, the toy company, where we had to make those Hot Wheel environments that they wheel the thing down. The little kid's hand wheels it down, that epic scene, right? So I would make those. And we had to make this crazy dock. And the designer really wanted this triangular mesh pattern, of support struts. But we needed that thing done in 3 hours to take out to the site where we needed to film it. So what I did was I found one of those mesh grates and I took it to the bandsaw. And if you cut it at an angle, it will actually give you a strip that does this. If you think about if you cut through, the angle of the squares, does that make sense? It'll give you just a bunch of triangles. And I was able to just glue that down as a strip and finish it within 10 minutes. So that was probably the weirdest, most on the fly. Oh man, I found this mesh because we're at a construction site. Let me just run this through the bandsaw and glue it there to finish this deadline. That was a pretty cool one. Let's see. Getz had a question. Question about these basing objects. Tony, can you read this? I can't even read.
Yeah, so Getz wants to know, since you have one point of contact joining your two pieces, he would expect to see this put down on an MDF base or something. How would you make that blend in such that it meshes with the futuristic landscape?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't try that actually, Matt. It has two pieces of 2 points of contact actually. Here and here. This is what I imagine you're talking about, correct? I actually sometimes find it. All right, if I was building this for gaming terrain, like if it was going to come to a convention and had to be super durable, I would have just tossed a pin through here, right? So that it had a piece of brass or paper clip going through here, and that way it would never break. But I just like to build some of this stuff a little bit more free flowing, because if I have a big base and we have like a slight hill or any sloping landscape on the terrain, it's not going to sit flat. So I try to keep it as low profile as possible, if that makes sense. All right. Let's see. So I want to add another piece. I want to add this piece of pipe somewhere. Maybe?
Oh, I kind of like the off angle better than at the right angle.
What's that?
So yeah, like it looked really cool when you had it. So like right now it's 90 degrees to that smaller tank, but it looked to me a little more interesting on first glance if you put it on the side, but more at a yes. So it can be straight up and down, but like if the tank is if you're looking at the top, if the tank is at a 3 o'clock, then not putting the handle at the 6 or the 9, like kind of having it at a different number sounded good.
Another good poll. Should we put it here? This is option A. Or should we put it up here straight and clean?
Okay, side or top. So let me get that going. Sorry to jump on it. I just got excited. I was like, oh, that looked cool.
Absolutely.
Here. All right, so create the poll.
Or here. And while he creates that, I'm going to show how to take this away from being too War Machine and Horde-y, because this did come off of a War Machine and Hordes kit. It's crap. I can't remember the name right now. I believe it's like the Mercs battle engine. That thing's so cool. That has some amazing, amazing bits. Travis, if you're in chat, I always ask you these questions. What's this bit from? It's a fun game I like to play with Travis.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do, though, since one of the things that I pushed for very, very hard is for Warcaster is please don't make me do rivets. So that kind of they finally discovered welding and how that works. So we're going to just take our knife and very carefully clip these rivets off of here. That's going to make it look a lot more sci-fi than that kind of steam-powered fantasy stuff we've got going on in War Machine and Hordes, when it doesn't have these big boiler rivets on it. And also, you can take your, if it's a big open surface, you can take your emery board, your nail board, and you can sand off a lot of them very quickly, especially because plastic sands so fast. We'll just get in there with this knife. This is a curved 15C blade. It's a scalpel blade that I clipped the backside off of. Brian has shown this many, many times on our other hobby hangouts. We clip the backside of it and put it into a X-Acto or hobby handle because it makes it chatter a lot less than if it was in a scalpel handle.
I started using one of those for my hobby projects at home, and it's hard to go back to a regular straight blade for everything.
Dream. It's a dream. Modified 15C or 15 baby.
And center up a little bit, Danny.
Yeah. I'm just going in, and it's faster to just sand this off. How are we doing on time? Pretty good.
Doing good. Yeah, we're at an hour, so we got up to an hour left.
Again, I've done this for a very, very long time, so it's actually, in my opinion, safer for me to hold it, I've found, tight like this. Normally, you don't want to cut towards your fingers. I find I actually pop parts more if I'm like going against the table trying to clip things. But again, I've done this since I was like 7. So maybe, you know,
Center
balance
up.
this against the table. Sorry, Tony.
As much as you can. If it's a matter of safety, then
It's kind of
do what you
I want
gotta
to be
do.
able to really see what I'm doing. So I'm not paying, I need to keep it kind of close to my face. There we go. So we've clipped this. You guys can see it. Tony, do you mind doing the palette cam for detail?
Leave it there. I'll get it. Let me see if I can grab some focus here.
There we go. Awesome. Oh, wow, that's so cool. I need to get one of these cameras when I have to live stream class. Wow, that was so cool. Oops, sorry. So yeah, you guys can see it's already a lot less like steampunky once you lost the rivets, and it looks more welded. So how are we doing on that pole?
Let's check it out. So, results are that it goes on the side.
Side. Excellent. Cool. All right, again, this is something, if I was building it to like go to a con, I would probably pin it. I'd put a little brass pin in there and you know, make sure it was super durable, but we're not so worried about that. So I'm just going to glue it here. Okay. Dot a kicker, and there we go. Now I've got a pretty decent little boiler thing. I want to add a cool like sci-fi looking smokestack guy. So we're just going to take this little bit here. This is also off of that same like Merc kit. Thanks. It's the Siege Crawler. Thanks, guys. We're just going to take this bit. I'm going to clip off these inputs with my hobby knife, or hobby clippers, and give it a little bit of sanding. Travis, the stuff you're doing for tomorrow, your paint jobs look really, really good.
Yeah.
How fast you're having to crank those out.
Yeah, that's the thing, is he's cranking them out super fast.
Tony, you want to mention that again, what the plan is?
Yeah, so tomorrow, Travis Marg is going to be doing a live stream Warcaster game, and we will be hosting it on our channel. And he is in full mode of getting everything set up. He's got a really super cool looking Warcaster table with a lot of awesome terrain and platforms and gantries and ramps and
Dantries.
No, thank you. And then he's furiously painting up the models to have on the table.
I think this is a resin bit from Vulcan. It's really neat and kind of sci-fi itself, so I pulled one of these. I'm just going to clip the end off of this boy. Angle it away from yourself because you just heard it ricochet.
I will say, Danny, that I do think you're quite spoiled sometimes for your parts choice because your bits bin is as big as our warehouse.
Yeah, it is. That's my fault. I'm like such a hoarder of bits. But that said, man, like I've been doing this for a long time, and you can just build stuff out of trash. Like I still love the idea that we talked about the other day with the kitchen, the live stream idea.
Sorry, I was looking at chat and I missed it, Danny. What?
Good. I was saying you can find bits anywhere. Like just because I'm using a bunch of like resin stuff that we have laying around or like miscast. That's something I use a lot is if we ever have miscast, we're pretty good about quality control, or we try to be here. So like they'll throw out these bits sometimes that are skewed a little bit.
Yeah, they're totally usable with a little bit of elbow.
Terrain.
Yeah, a little bit of elbow grease.
I can grind them up a little bit and like, you know, and add some rust and
Yeah.
other stuff, right? So I have just tons of it. But you can do so much of this from like, you know, PVC or like a little film canister or whatever. But you know, akin to what I was saying, we need to do that. We need to do that live stream we were joking about the other day, the one in your kitchen.
Yeah, I wasn't joking.
I know.
I think
I love
that's
it.
totally legit.
We had an idea that we're playing with.
Did you tell them the idea?
No, can I do that?
Yeah. Well,
so one of the things Tony and I are playing with is I literally open up the refrigerator and pull out packaging and just kit bash something out of just stuff that comes in your refrigerator.
yeah, just all packaging and parts, everything that's part of a container or anything that you would find in your refrigerator, just to just to show like you don't need a ton of specialized parts.
Like I grew up reading, and this is going to make you feel old, Tony. I grew up reading Hawkins's articles in No Quarter when I was like in high school.
Right.
And so, again, it's me screwing with Tony. I'm so mean to you. I love you, man.
I know I'm old. It's okay.
But he was so good about that. Oh my God! Like he made this super cool Crixian generator. I remember out of a yogurt carton, and that was just amazing. Like the stuff that he managed to pull off just from trash was incredible. All right, so we're gonna get back to this. You guys can see we've got a pretty cool sci-fi generator going on. So I think this is pretty good to go. If I had more time, I would probably try to spruce it up a bit more. But we're going to just add this here. This is something, I think that looks pretty cool like that. This is something that I might not attach right now because it does take I really do need to pin this. If this is going to be on its own, I need to like drill through this and glue it here. But so for the purpose of what we're doing here, I'll show you guys at the end what it looks like with this. But I don't want to glue this down because I kind of want to use this for something later. Yeah, the masked Bowler beat me to it. That's exactly how I would attach it. He's asking, would you attach it with pins? And yes, that's exactly right. This already has like a big hole in it, you know, for some sort of jack input. So I might even just shove a piece of tubing or like a rod in there already so I don't have to drill into the metal, then drill into the PVC because it's softer, right? So imagine that's there. We'll keep moving for now, and I'll put it back to show you guys near the end. I think it needs more lights.
Yeah, it seems like a landing pad from a functional standpoint would have lots of warnings that it is in operation.
Absolutely. And we've got these 4 circles already here, conveniently.
Oh yeah, they're there.
Right. So I'm just going to use those as guides for where I should put these googie eyes. Googie eyes. Boop. Are any of my DigiPen kids on this chat? Because if so, one of the models we teased out earlier, fun fact, the mini crate model Gore 10 was actually designed by one of your guys' graduates from this year, which is pretty cool. Brian Yunhui Huang. He's been doing a lot of our stuff for Riot Quest and mini crate. But fun fact for any of you guys that tuned in, I know I shared it across your guys' boards. But yeah, you guys are pretty hireable, so I try to send you guys work when I can. All right, so we've now glued these down. Oh yeah, bottle tops, we were talking about that on the chat, are absolutely fantastic. And another really cool piece is, let's see, oh, this is perfect, we got one right here. Ink bottles are great because this topper is super cool. Like, it's got a lot of texture to it, and you flip it upside down, and it can be like a cool sci-fi funnel thing. And you put like a tube off of it. Like, I love taking bendy straws, and I'll build a shape like this.
Oh yeah.
Off of it, because it ends up being the perfect taper, as you can see, right there. So I use those bits a lot.
I can't help but look at that and think, you know, a few of those put together on the back of like a small ship or something like that as the thrusters. Little on the nose for the shape. Right.
Oh, and then I see, I'm just letting the build kind of do its thing and looking for shapes and areas I can add more cool details. The center of this fan piece should also probably have a cool light to kind of bring it all together.
Oh, see, now I'm imagining like, and I'm not suggesting that you necessarily do this with actual parts, but like, you know, as the craft is approaching the landing pad, that the lights are like starting in the 4 corners and then they're like bloop, 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 converging to a light in the center to say like, this is where you land.
Diverging in. And look at that cute little googie eye. Googie.
I can't hear it.
All right. So, let's see. I'm going to think about this for a second. Where we want to go from here. See, I kind of want to add more stuff to it, but I also want it still to be playable. I want guys to be able to move around up here.
That's always a big concern with terrain.
It is. I feel like we can get away with some more vents right here. So one of my favorite cast pieces I have around, again, this is definitely like from some random model kit, is, 1 second. I have another one here somewhere. Here we go. Dope. Is this piece. We're going to do it in the pallet cam. It's just a really sweet little air vent. I use this thing
Oh yeah, that looks cool.
all the time.
The mass bowler actually is kind of preemptively for one of our next steps. If it's a landing pad, don't you need a way for the landees to get off?
Yes, we do. So that's going to be our next pull, and we'll get to it in just a second. Let me glue these down. But we're going to figure out if we want stairs or a ramp. One of them is far easier than the other, so maybe you'll make me work for it.
And there's the pull, and starting the timer.
Hey, buddy, I saw my name pop up there. Did you just try to write me something?
Me, no.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Nope.
I thought you were typing something into me.
No secret messages for Dan.
Every now and then we talk through, like, Tony writing something on the window. Not to give you too much, like, behind-the-scenes stuff, but... Oh, no. I slid it. No. Now there's glue everywhere, all over the top.
Hey, more rest.
Paper towel.
Okay, so now that you've made this mistake, Danny, because it happens to everybody, what do you do?
I try to wipe off as much glue as I can, and then one of the really nice things, I know I've been complaining about this being metal. One of the nice things is your glue is going to chip off of it pretty easy. So what I'm probably going to end up doing after this live stream is going in with a little chisel and just chiseling
Just
off
knocking it
some
out?
of the, yeah, honestly.
But that's not something that you could easily do if it were resin or styrene or
I mean,
something?
I've done it plenty.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Just
I'll go
easier
in.
on metal?
It's so much because it pops off of the metal.
Okay.
If it's like styrene or something, I'll have to go in and like probably sand it out, and then I'll use like some filler putty and kind of pull it back, if I need it to be perfect and streamlined. But that's also like my biggest weakness. Like that was my hardest part at my previous job on film was I was not the guy that was super, super tight and clean and precise about their detail. I was very fast, and I was really good at like the carving of the, overall forms. But it wasn't my thing, making it super tight. Somebody's talking about like fingernail polish remover. The problem is with that is if you're working on plastic, it will melt it. So kind of pick your poison, right? All right, let's see. Okay, so we're going to go to our next poll question, which is stairs or should I make a ramp? Stairs, which I have a cool resin cast stair. I built this for free worlders, so we'll probably have to change it up a bit. I'm not really sure how yet. We're still kind of deciding the style. Dope, you guys are making me work.
Ramp.
Ramp is
yeah. I'm curious. I'm curious if seeing the stairs pre-designed in advance would have swayed anyone. I kind of like the fact that they had to imagine the entryway without knowing what the part was going to be.
Darn it! I spoiled everything.
Well, no, I mean now they had already voted by the time you showed the stairs.
Oh,
so.
the vote's over?
Yeah.
Cool. I could have been like, yeah, stairs. I'll build stairs, and they'll be like, joke's on you. Here's a pre-cast piece of stair.
No.
Darn it.
No, had to choose by concept.
So since this side has a nice straight angle, remember we used this to complement the curvature of our generator here. This side's straight, so that's why I planned to have, either stairs leading up to it or a ramp. The problem with ramps, guys, actually, if we are to talk about why I don't like building ramps, is it's really hard to get minis to not slide on it, right? So like, you put this guy up, and it can work. I'll sometimes put like mesh grate or sandpaper on it so that it doesn't slide. But you have to make a really long ramp for it to not slide. But we're just going to do it anyway because it's going to look cool. All right, so one of the first things I'm going to do is this has a 90-degree angle, right? We need to knock that back so it lays flush to the ground, okay? So what I'm going to do is I am going to pick this angle here, and how should I explain this? I'm just actually going to kind of eyeball it and draw a line here parallel with the table, if that makes sense. I can see this here. And this is a really, really great material. For those of you that have seen me do a live stream before, this is called Sintra, or PVC, extruded PVC board. It's basically very lightweight PVC pipe in board form. It carves up easily, and you can use either like a saw or if it's thin enough. Like I've got this eighth inch thick sheet. I can cut this with a knife. It's really cool. It's bendable. You can heat form it. It's excellent stuff, but it's super light, so that's why I like to use it a lot for terrain if I can. This is one of my most used tools. They're kind of pricey. They're called machinist squares, but they're just a perfect square. And so you can line this up. And yeah, Sintra is technically like the brand name, but it's like calling hardboard Masonite, you know? Masonite's actually the seller, or Kleenex is tissue, right? For those of you that want to find it. And then I'm going to just carve it. Carefully carve away from yourself, and I'm not going to look at the camera right now while I do this.
Yeah, if you can be out in the front a little more so people can see what you're doing, but again, safety first.
Just kidding.
That's not funny.
It is to me. Hashtag messing with Tony. Hashtag ruining Tony's day. Hashtag love you, Tony. All right, so I'm basically slowly carving up to this line, and I'm not going past this line.
Can you hold that up to the palette cam on its side so that you can see the bevel? There you go. Yeah. It's a little more clear there.
Normally, this is how I would do it. I'd hold it against the table, but it makes such a loud knocking noise that I'm trying to not do that on live stream. And I'm just kind of shaving away at it. Then what I'm going to do, once I have it pretty close to where I want it, I take my trusty sanding block.
Is there a reason why you're doing it the long way instead of, or the short way and dragging it all the way across rather than putting it the long way and
Yes.
going back and forth?
You mean like, why am I not doing this?
Yes, exactly.
Because of the pivot of my hand. It's going to want to do this while I'm sanding.
And so you get an uneven.
Whereas, yes, so I can control the angle perfectly. I know if I line this up parallel with the edge of the sanding block and just pull cleanly, it should give me a very, very even sanding throughout the whole surface. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I ain't no amateur, Tony.
Well, no, there's like I ask these questions because it's one is just as a viewer, I don't know the techniques, and so sometimes when I see you do things differently than I might naturally do them, I assume that there's a reason for it.
Dan mature. Tony, one day if I'm gone and dead, you'll miss my puns. Mark my words.
I don't know.
So these are an awesome bit. Sorry, that was the greatest thing on chat.
Ro here is saying he's kind of curious how I'm going to cut the video for technical difficulties when Danny eventually cuts himself on stream, and I'm laughing because I have a button that's exactly for that.
We do. That's why I was cracking up. Remember that time I actually got this approved and I never did it. I still need to do this where I was gonna have the like doofy version of my face that I like graffitied all over your "Stay Quiet" signs.
Right,
And it was
yes.
just gonna be like technical difficulties, or it had some Danny pun. Like,
Dan faculties. Oh,
yeah, oh my
jeez.
god. Yes, you did it!
Now you
did
have me
it!
joining in.
All right, so this is a pretty good angle. You know, if I hold it down against the table, it's sitting exactly where I want it. You see, it's linking right up to this edge perfectly. This is a really, really cool bit that was actually made by one of our previous employees. It's kind of this scaffolding bit, and it's invaluable because making this sort of stuff takes a really long time. Evan, I know you're not watching, but thank you. So what I like to do is I'll have these casts, and I can kind of size it up and maybe cut sections off of it and link it in. So I'm going to try to see if this piece works. If it doesn't, I have another solution. I'm going to use the grid of this to my advantage. Right? I'm going to line this up parallel with the grid so you can see. Or, you know, I'm going to flush this angle up to the edge of the grid. And then this is a piece of angle iron steel. You can get them at scrap yards, and it allows me to balance stuff against it while I find the right angle.
I know you just talked about that Evan made it, but the mass bowler is asking, is the ladder something that was 3D sculpted, or was it kit bashed and then cast?
Yeah, so actually it's a mix of both. You know how I was saying that 3D printing is just another tool. We actually, and many of you guys, if you've seen our Warcaster terrain that we've built already, we had kind of a sci-fi-esque ladder on it. Initially, it was something I had one of our engineers 3D model for the Crucible Guard terrain. Okay, and then I kind of like sci-fi'd it up a bit, removed some of the rivets, and remolded it for you know, for sci-fi purposes. So this was actually the rung, not the rungs, the side of the ladder clipped cleanly, and then styrene was added across here, and this is just styrene rod, and then we molded this again. So it was kind of kit bashed out of some of the ladder parts. Again, if I was not on a time crunch, I would remove these rivets, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to face them towards the inside so you don't see them. If this actually works, which I'm not sure it will. So let's see. You know what? I'm just going to start snipping at this guy.
Can you do that centered up?
Yeah. You can center up Tony. Center up your face. Ooh, wait, that's a good idea. See how this line kind of matches that line? I can use that as an indicator of where to cut. Ooh, yes, please work, please work, please work. Make my life easy. And you know what? We're going to make this easier. This angle now is slightly off. So what I'm going to do is it's not enough that it's going to change the height, really. And where it links, I'm going to draw a new line, a new plumb line. And we're going to adjust this angle a bit more. Again, safety first when using a knife like this. You guys can see how easily this stuff cuts. Too much. Dug in a little too far. Take your time, right? Ease your way up to the line. Ease your way up. Where am I, sanding block? Where are you, sanding block? Oh, ha. Buried under the cool landing pad. All right, we're going to sand this back. Whee! Perfection. Sweet. So that's going to line up nice. It's going to work, hopefully. And now I use the grid again. That's why cutting mats are so useful if they have a grid, because you can basically drop this here, and figure out where the floor line would be, essentially. Like, look at that. I'll use the ruler to show you. That's where the ground would be. So it allows me to kind of mark lines. As long as this is lined up against this line, I can mark a line right here. Sorry, my head's in the way. I got to see what I'm doing. And that gives us a good spot to snip. Again, since I'm just using these clippers, I'm going to snip away from the line. And we'll clip this off here so that this can come off. That didn't sound good.
What?
The giant crashing noise outside of this door. Let's see. I'm wondering if I can just move this rod up across here. I bet I can. If I snip this shorter, let's see if this magic trick works. And nope. Good thing I brought extra styrene rod. Always come prepared. I think it needs a cross beam detail. So, dropping everything. Clip that off, make it nice and clean. So fresh and so clean.
So we got about 20 minutes left, Danny.
Your face has about 20 minutes left. Oh. Clip. Clippy clip, clip, clip. Yep. Poo.
That looks cool.
What does?
Just the replaced rod at the correct angle.
Oh. Again, this is where that grid comes super in handy. So you can kind of line it up. Well, I mean, it's already lined up because of the nubs, but whatever. You get what I mean. All right, and I'm too lazy to glue this properly. And since this is going to be on the interior, it doesn't matter. So I'm actually just going to glue from the inside, like this. Put a dot here, put a big dot here. I'll use my paper towel to kind of absorb up a little bit of that. But you're never going to see a little bit of the excess because it's on the inside. All right. So there's that. That's kind of a quick support. And we'll just quickly, now that we've figured out, figuring it out is half the battle, right? These were pieces, actually, since they're already painted, they were pieces that we used for like a narrative event a while ago that once it, sometimes we'll do these narrative events, and once it happens, we're not going to run it again, like the airship. So these are actually pieces, but I like to recycle terrain, so these are pieces from the airship that I just took off and started to reuse for things, because we don't want to waste stuff. Wait, am I doing this right? I guess it doesn't matter.
That's one of the nice things about building a bunch of terrain and doing kit bashing is you waste a lot less.
Because you can
You can
design.
just-
You could be like,
you can
that's
just-
not in the design. Haha.
Well, you can just use parts.
Right. Well, and you can design around the parts that we have. Like when Wilson approached me about making that Warcaster table, we had a pretty tight turnaround, which was cool. And I love building, with fast deadlines. It's really fun. But I was like, here's what we can do. If you give me this many weeks, I can scratch build this, this, and this, and this, right? But if you're okay with this design, using this, top of a bucket for this, and this electric conduit box for this, then you'll have it in just like 3 weeks. And he's like, 3 weeks, please. I'm like, sweet. So that's the nice thing is kit bashing. If you have some idea of, like, if you come to the table, if you're ever working for a client, you come to the table with, okay, here are a few ideas of objects I can use to make this. Is that cool with you? Because it would save, this much time if you let me use this. A lot of the time, your client's going to be like, yes, please, make it out of that junk.
It's a characteristic of a true professional.
What's that?
Oh, I'm first of all, just being able to have options, right? Like, you don't have enough time to do what you want. You know how to scale it down and make it happen in a way that works, that fits the parameters, and anything that helps your quote unquote client or customer, in this case, your boss.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes I will say, sometimes you have to be careful because sometimes it has bit me in the bum because I'll be like, oh yeah, they'll, like a film thing or something will pay me like a few grand or whatever to make something for them, and then they get a little grumpy when they realize that, it's made out of trash, and they're like, I paid a few grand for this. I was like, yeah, but it came in early for your deadline, and it looks dope, and you wouldn't have been mad if I didn't tell you that this was made out of a trash can.
Made out of a Starbucks cup.
Yeah. You would have never known. You know what I mean? Like, we thought you'd pay this much in materials. You bid materials into the job. I was like, yeah, and I bought these, and these, and made a profit by using this. Here we are. Sketchy business with Danny Samuels. You're welcome. Anything fun on the chat?
The Mass Bowler is talking about Bowler. What did he say, Bowler?
I don't know.
Mass Bowler wants to know what size the bucket that you used for the Marcher World's Arc Geyser platform was.
5 gallon.
Was it 5 gallon?
5 gallon.
Man,
Yes, sir. Just a standard, yeah, it's like a standard.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it across the room over there. Okay, yeah, I guess it is bigger than I thought.
It's one of those
in my head.
standard
Yeah.
buckets from like any hardware store.
Yeah.
One of those like orange boys. I think this one was white. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. God, it's Friday. Yes! Just got so excited. Any big weekend plans, T-Dog?
I hope to be doing some modeling and painting now that I've had live streams back again to kind of juice me up.
Juice you up.
I'm going to watch Travis's stream tomorrow.
Do it.
And then hang out with my family and my kids. Enjoy some sunshine.
Do it. I like that Tony's office dad. The best of us. Especially now that Jack left, there's like no competing with your superiority of nicest, wonderful person at the studio. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think Charles.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Charles is the wonderful, wonderful person in our warehouse. He's been on stream a few times, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been
such
on.
A sweetheart.
Yeah, he's been
so
on
nice.
Staff Showdown a few times playing RideQuest.
He's so nice. Who's he playing against normally? Not to get too inside baseball, I'll stop asking these questions after. But
Probably Hungerford, Tanner, Faye.
I just don't want. Tanner will just make him sad. Tanner will be so mean to him. That's why Tanner and I always have to go against each other. Where did the white thing go? There it is. All right. So we're just gonna use the right angle of the table. We're gonna use the flatness of the table to actually help us glue this thing up. Okay, so I'm going to put, there are a lot of tricks. So something that I struggle with, again, like I said, is very, very clean building, getting these angles precise. So there are actually a lot of tricks and jigs that I've learned and kind of figured out to help me with that. And one of the main ones is make sure you have a very flat table. And then if you have a nice square, you can use a square being like this, you can use the table to your advantage. Advantage. Tony, why do you let me on here, man? Actually, I don't even think it was your idea. I think you got overruled.
I don't make the schedule. I mean, I do.
I think it was. It did come from on high. So bad. Poor Tony. I need to just buy you dinner or something one day and apologize.
I think I still owe people sandwiches.
What's that?
So I think I still owe people sandwiches.
Why do you owe anyone sandwiches? You're perfect. Here's another method, right? Instead of using the table to create the right angle, I pull this piece up. So nice, that's easier. What kind of sandwiches, Tony?
Who knows?
Malort?
A Malort sandwich?
No, sandwich with Malort.
I would like to keep my friends, thank you. But I would still force them to eat a Malort sandwich if I came across one.
The reviews for that liquor are the greatest things ever.
You don't need the reviews for it. You can just have some yourself and experience the wonder.
You're the worst human now. Tony went from being the best to evil, all in one swoop. So now check that out. Look how easy that was. Wow, so easy. And because it's so low to the ground, I'm not going to worry actually about having crossbeam struts. Like, I might how much time we got? Perfect. For durability, I'm going to put a crossbeam just so that like this has a compression point, something to kind of bump up against. We'll just do a piece like this, get in there and kind of measure. 1 7/8. I was there with you when you discovered Malort. It's so true. What was the Chicago handshake? It was Getz had to have that with us. It was
It's a
was
Malort.
it a Tecate?
No, it's a Malort with an old style.
Oh my god.
Old style lager, yeah.
And Tony had it and was so disgusted by it that he bought us all rounds of it.
Oh, but I disgustedly fascinated.
Yes. He was like, you all have to try this. And his face, we were like, all right, I guess we do actually.
I have some at home.
Do you really?
Like I keep it in a decanter, like a glass decanter.
Decanter. When your kids are older, that's how you can punish them. You know what I mean?
That's how you teach them the dangers of drinking.
Oh, dude, that's so good. You tell them this is what all alcohol tastes like.
Yeah.
And give them a little tiny taste of Malort. They'll never want to drink
Never
ever.
again.
All right, so I've got this piece here. This is just kind of a cross beam to act as just to add a little bit more durability.
I mean, even if your piece doesn't need it, like aesthetically, it does make it look kind of chunkier and sturdier, like it's got more build going on.
Absolutely. Now the problem is though with that is like you're never gonna see this side because it's so
because
close.
it's close to underneath. Yeah.
But I'm just adding it so I can't like go like whoops. So I can't go like this and break it like I just did. It's another area where baking soda is really useful. Is it also kind of acts as a filler with the super glue, and since I was just like, man, a 64th of an inch short, there's a tiny space, and it would have been nice to kind of fill that with super glue and then, or fill that with baking soda and then push some super glue on there.
Can you center that up a little bit, Dan?
Yep. And somehow, I'm completely off with my measurement, and that happens sometimes. Whoopsies.
So you can see, it might be a little hard to see at this angle, but yeah, you can see that the top
Top
end
is,
just isn't flush.
taller. So here's what we're going to do. How much time I got? Oh, this is a perfect lesson. This is great. We're going to pop this guy off of here. Scuff this boy. Ah, la, 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 la. Ah, la, la. Ah, la. Oh my God, yes, that's so true. That's exactly what that is. The liquid from Stridex pads filtered through the pit of a grapefruit, served over some lighter fluid. Sounds about right. So here's what we're going to do, guys. This material is about 1/4 of an inch thick. So is this rod. So is this rod. Convenient, isn't it? So what we're going to do is we're going to clip a little angle here. We're going to sand it back a little bit. All right, and let's just measure. Well, we'll measure. Look at Tony just chatting with Getz over there. It's 1 1/8. We're going to just clip this, and I'm going to clip it away from the line a little bit. Another useful thing to have while you're doing terrain like this is always have bases on hand, which I haven't been doing. You should always have bases on hand to make sure that like your 50 mil will fit on your terrain if you want it to be. So right now, yeah, we are square. We're good. A model could get up there. But yeah, that's always useful to have when you're building. I'm trying to size this up completely correctly first. Make sure it's all right before I do the other one. So sanding it slightly, butting this up against it. All right, and we are good there. So then we can use this to trace it onto this guy. Make sure it's right. Nope, that didn't feel safe, so I stopped. Ding! That shot all the way across the room. That was really satisfying. For me, and not for Tony.
I'll have to clean it up later.
Yeah, you will. Messing with Tony, 2020. A Danny memoir. We'll see if this angle lines up pretty good. It's very, very close. So that means we can clip this. Ah. Yeah. And again, it's pretty important on sci-fi stuff to make sure you have a nice kind of stable angle and platform. Make sure your table's flat and you're not working on top of debris, or all your stuff's going to be off. Okay. So we can glue this down. Dang it. This is still off a little bit. Take the sanding block. Okay. Come on. This is going to be the ultimate lesson on hiding your mistakes. Promise. Tony, are you just like having fun talking to Getz over there?
I'm having fun talking to everybody.
What's going on? Fill me in. Tell me all this
We're
stuff.
we're lamenting missing Gen Con this year, not being physically there, and I do miss it. I was talking about this with Jordan, but I've been going to Gen Con since I started at Privateer Press 8 years ago. I haven't missed a Gen Con yet, so it's kind of weird for me to not be out of town right now, and not be in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Oh, Gen Con. That convention is the one that wears me out absolutely the most. I love Gen Con. But
Yeah,
whoa, afterwards I am gassed.
It's a long one, and as Travis is saying, I don't love setup and teardown.
Yes.
I will say that in an odd way, I don't love it in the moment, but I am very fond of the memories of setups and teardowns.
That's how I feel like anyone that has to work Gen Con feels.
Yeah.
Is like,
Well, and much, teardown is definitely one of those. Walking away from teardown is, it has a very psychological and emotional impact that everything is done. So it's very satisfying to be like, and our Gen Con is complete.
yeah.
But I also love the people I work with, and you get to work very closely with them at Gen Con.
Don't flatter me.
All
Tony.
weekend.
Don't lie to me.
Well, I wasn't talking about you.
Oh, yeah. Zing. There we go. So I'm just trying to make sure it fits nicely. Yes, there we go. All right, so I
Nice.
raised this up. You guys can see I've added these pieces. I've gotten the angle to match correctly here. See that? Fantastic. Dantastic. Is that getting old yet? For you, Tony?
Getting is not it. It's, yeah.
Tell me you love me.
I love you, Danny.
I want to hear you say it. Thanks. Things just got weird, guys. Man, I'm so needy. My poor girlfriend. And self-aware, at least. Now I'm just putting a ton of glue here. Because it doesn't matter, because we're going to cover it up. Now I'm going to measure. Let's see. One and a half inches by 2 3/8. 1.5 inches by 2 3/8. I'm going to set this over here for just a second. 1.5 inches by 2 3/8. 1 by 2 3/8. Let's see what this piece is.
So we are going to be wrapping it up here in a little bit. So if you have any more questions for Danny about any hobby projects, the project he's working on, send them in now. Oh, this is the masked bowler. And we are confirmed bowler.
Are we?
We are confirmed.
Oh.
Has a great question for you.
What?
If somebody had zero artistic training, but wanted to learn 3D sculpting to make terrain, what's a good place to start?
Man. So I have heard, you mean like 3D sculpting on the computer?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mass Bowler. Can you be more specific? Do you mean sculpting physically or sculpting digitally? Oh, digitally.
Cool. So I have heard. So I use ZBrush because it's what we had access to at the studio when I taught myself and learned it. But that's an expensive program. People really like Blender. It's free and very, very powerful. So Blender is probably a really good place to start. There's also a lot of free terrain out there that you can modify. I also really like SketchUp. SketchUp is super easy to learn. I believe it's owned by Google. Googie. And it's really powerful too. And I believe it can be used for 3D printing. But you'll have to look that up. But yeah, I would kind of start there. I'd start on the free, the free programs. Sorry, I'm distracted. Somebody else just hit me with a question.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of. I would just tag on to what Danny said. Starting with something free and just getting used to the tools. Maybe buy a little basic intro course, or of course you can always usually find some good stuff with YouTube to get started. But even just checking it out and seeing if it's something you like to do, because printing terrain and then building it physically is different than working with it digitally. So it's possible that if what you want is to print and build terrain, it may be a different experience doing it digitally. Of course, I'm only saying that as a possibility. It could also be something that you fall in love with, but just kind of dipping your toe into it. Just be like, play with the tools, see how you like it, see if it's something that you're into.
Yeah, and also, I would honestly say Blender's probably the way to go. But also, akin to what Tony's saying, it might be wise for you to first make a few traditional pieces of terrain out of foam core or styrofoam or something, and see if and that'll help you understand what good terrain design is and kind of what you're looking for, so that once knowing how to do things digitally, you'll be better at doing things digitally if you know how to do it by hand first, I think, also, and know what makes good terrain, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm laying down a piece of material over this. I also clipped a piece here. It doesn't have to be nice. It's literally just as an added support, so that if a mini's standing on here, it won't be all flimsy because it's thin plastic. Oh yeah, another reason why I recommend Blender is there's a really good free class on YouTube called I think it's the Blender Guru or something, and maybe start there. Okay, so now since I was off on my measurement, I have found a way of using it to my advantage. And it also added some more detail. You see that?
Nice.
So then I can, always, of course, and I won't do it now, but you can always add some styrene strip or whatever you want to add, a little bit more detail. Everybody wants handrails for some reason. I think everything's more fun with a slight chance of death, so whatever. That's on you. Again, to recap, here's our sweet, sweet boiler, generator. We can put that here. We can even put it off to the side. I kind of like it off to the side.
I think I like it off to the side too.
Tony, one more pull.
One more pull?
Here or here?
Actually, I don't know if we have time to attach it. We just kind of have to
I'm not going to attach it.
Okay.
I just want to know for when I have to paint this up.
One more pull. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm unprepared.
I knew. I'm so mean to you. He had just closed out of Strawhole. And so, Tony, please don't hit me after this. It's good to be back, everyone. #cancel Danny. I hope everyone has a really good weekend. We're gonna upload this straw poll though, because I want to know what you guys want, and then I'll try to get this painted up for you guys so you can see.
Okay, there it is.
And it's perfect, honey. We still got 4 minutes, so 2 minutes for the straw poll, and then 2 minutes to advertise the last stuff we want to advertise.
Let me start the clock. Bam. So one thing I want to say though is that like in 2 hours, you have a completed piece of terrain, and that's a 2 hours of chit chatting and tangenting and.
Tangent.
No, I'm not going to say that. And I knew you were going to. But of just kind of, getting off top and just doing a thing. So like this is definitely something that, just a couple hours at home, you should be able to knock out a nice piece of terrain and build.
Absolutely. And that's something I love about these live streams is as arrogant and douchey as I am, terrain is super easy to make, guys. You can make it out of anything. And part of why I love doing this live stream so much is like I can really spread the love of terrain. It's very, very accessible. Nothing I do is intimidating or difficult, actually. I've just done it for a long time, so I have a lot of tricks that make it look good in the end, right? It's very, very easy to get there. I'm not doing anything special. Do you know how to make a box out of foam core? Great, you can make a house. Seriously. So that's part of why I love this so much. Anybody doing that straw poll? How we looking?
Mass Bowler says having all the resin cast bits handy helps. It does help. I will say that a lot of times it just speeds up the process, and when you're doing it professionally for the studio, time matters, but not having those bits handy shouldn't be a hindrance for you doing it at home. It just means you might have to get a little more creative.
Absolutely. Like I didn't have bits for most of the time I did this actually. I just a few years ago started to cast stuff. But you can also cast stuff on your own. Like go to Reynolds Supply, REYNOLDS. And they have a ton of awesome mold making tutorials. I'm just doing what's called a flat pour mold or a one-part mold. It's super easy. So it's like, yeah, if I have these molds, but I would have just had to collect these parts from different models or different trash pieces anyway I had around if I didn't have a mold. Also go to Reynolds too, because Archer works there now. So let's give him some business. That's the previous terrain guy that I took over for. He's wonderful. So the back, is winning?
That's the back, yeah. Our time is up. It was by one vote, the back.
It was
so it was pretty split.
It was a close one. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Do you want to show off that awesome Gen Con exclusive model again, Tony?
Absolutely.
This was a ton of fun. Thank you guys for guiding me through this. So again, guys, here is our Gen Con exclusive model, the Micro Brew Marauder. It's an alt sculpt of the Eternus Continuum Marauder. It's up on our website now, store.privateerpress.com. So please go ahead and pick that up. Also, please like and subscribe the channel. We'd love to have you guys. I'm sure we'll probably be doing some more live streams again in the future. So anyway, I hope you guys all had as good of a time as I did. And happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your Gen Con and tune in to our channel tomorrow to see Travis Marg playing a game of Warcaster.
And happy birthday again.
Yeah, happy birthday, Travis.
Thank you for all that you do for us.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Dance with me.